you guys? It's Afridi Zaman coming at you with a look back at the decade. As you know, in just a few moments, it will be the year 2000. First off, let's take a look at some stars in the entertainment industry. The Spice Girls, as well as the teenage heartthrobs NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, made a huge impact in the music industry, all groups going platinum. But let's not forget about our one and only favorite NBA superstar Kobe Bryant emerging, and his big man Shaq. Michael Jordan also retires basketball to pursue his dreams of playing baseball. Now to Georgie Jacob for some fashion news of the past decade.
Hello everyone, this is your anchor Georgie Jacob tuning into JKBC TV, and our topic of the day is fashion of the decade. Tevas, feather bangs, Skechers, and short skirts are on their way to become huge in our country. We here at JKBC TV have ranked some of the most popular fashion icons in a random order. Number 1, Jennifer Aniston and her Rachel haircut, which is reigning superiority right now. Number 2 would be the Spice Girls. These talented group of girls and are known for their jaw-dropping features and their outstanding wardrobe. As we come to a close to our topic of the day, we have chosen one piece of clothing that has took the fashion world by storm. Acid wash denim jeans are on their way to glory because you can almost see everyone wearing. Now from the middle class even to the caster friends. Now back to Afridi Zaman on the war terror.
Just food for thought. Did you know that more Americans were killed in the 90s by terrorists than the end of the war? With growing tensions between the US and terrorist group Al-Qaeda, which is ruled by the Taliban, us Americans have been on guard, and we will update you guys further on this hot button topic in the years coming. Let's take a look back at some different attacks that could have been linked. Terrorist attacks on the base of the World Trade Center and the bombing of the building in Oklahoma City. These attacks were a huge impact on the United States and made us America more aware of what can really happen. In result, the U.S. Department of Defense has been strengthened to prevent future attacks by the U.S. Now to Scholar for more on terrorism.
America got its first real taste of terrorism on February 26, 1993. Radical Islamist Ramzi Youssef detonated a 1,300-pound truck bomb underneath the northern tower of the World Trade Center. Al-Qaeda thought that this bomb would topple the northern tower, sending it into the southern tower. This would have caused tens of thousands of deaths, but obviously Al-Qaeda isn't made up of architects because it only blew up the first floor on the northern tower and both buildings remained standing. Unfortunately, 6 people were killed and over 1,000 were injured. Another major bombing was in Oklahoma on April 19, 1995. This time it was actually carried out by an American named Timothy McVeigh. This unfortunate event took place at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The bombing killed 168 people and injured 680 others. It caused $652 million in damage. McVeigh was stopped 90 minutes after the bombing for driving without a license plate and was arrested. He was later linked to the bombing by forensics. Now on to Nick Banks with the President of the Decade.
Okay, we will be talking about the presidents of the decade. First is George W.H. Bush, the 41st President of the United States of America. He took office in January 20th, 1989 until 93. Bush was faced with many dramatic changes in his term. He sent American troops into the Panama to overthrow the corrupt regime of General Manuel Noriega, formerly a CIA, in the CIA, who was threatening the security of the canal and the Americans living there. Noriega was brought to the United States for a trial of drug trafficker. And now we go on to Bill Clinton, who is the 42nd President of the United States of America. Bill Clinton served from 1993 till present. He was the first Democratic president since Franklin D. Roosevelt to win a second term. He proposed the first balanced budget in decades and achieved a budget surplus. Clinton was known to have been involved in several scandals. while governor of Arkansas. He used Arkansas state policemen to arrange for him to meet women outside of marriage. His close personal business partnership with James and Susan McDougal in a failed savings and loan business venture, which led to the investigation of the Whitewater affair. Several of the people involved with the sale and land prior of Clinton's presidency were indicated, but prosecutors were never able to charge Clinton with this crime because of Susan McDowell would not cooperate with investigators. Clinton later was impeached for lying under oath. And next is the Monica Lewinsky scandal with George Jacobs.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Now let's talk about something a little bit more serious, the Monica Lewinsky scandal. The scandal was acted out by our former President Bill Clinton and his former White House employee Monica Lewinsky. Monica Lewinsky, while working at the White House, developed a rather personal relationship with our former president. The details of this relationship was told later to Lewinsky's co-worker and good friend, Linda Tripp, who secretly recorded the conversations. She then transferred these tapes to Kenneth Starr, the person investigating Clinton on the Whitewater scandal. This scandal led to the destruction of Clinton's trustworthiness and criticism of his morale. The investigation eventually resulted in the impeachment of President Clinton in 1998 on charges of perjury and obstruction of justice. But he survived impeachment and remained in office and still had support, but his marriage was left in shambles. Now to Scholar Kingston with more on the Persian Gulf War.
I'm here to talk about the Persian Gulf War. The Persian Gulf War took place from August of 1990 to February of 1991. It all started when Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait to take control of their oil reserves. The United Nations didn't want this to happen because that would make Iraq one of the largest oil producers in the world and would be competition against Saudi Arabia. On November 29th, the UN Security Council authorized the use of force. The initial conflict to expel Iraqi troops from Kuwait began with an aerial and naval bombardment on January 17th, 1991. A ground assault came next on February 24th. Because of this, the Iraqi military was driven out of Kuwait and back into Iraq. After this, a ceasefire agreement was negotiated and signed by both sides. There was an uprising by Iraqi rebels. They almost overthrew Saddam Hussein, but were not able to because of lack of help from America. On March 10th, 1991, 540,000 U.S. troops began moving out of the Persian Gulf. Now on to Nick Banks with Technology Boom.
Today we'll be taking a recap on the technology of the 1990s. We will talk about the three most important technology innovations. First is the web. The internet was already invented before the 1990s, and people were accessing Usenet groups which exposed to the idea through pop cultures like the movie War Games. But it was still not easy for the general public to grasp. That all changed with the arrival of the World Wide Web and the web browser in 1991. It still took several years for it to become something. When it did, it was one of the most powerful and disruptive methods since the birth of the printing press. And now we go on to the email. The email was where all the work happens. At least that's what it seemed like. But when I used email for the first time, it was an easy way to send messages to friends. Studies show that emails take up 28% of our workday. There is no denying that email is an integral part of our lives as we try to battle towards an inbox of zero. And now we go into search. The first search engine was called Archie. The inventor of Archie never patented the search engine. Later on, there were all these companies making their own search engines, but the best search engine and algorithm was Google search. It was search that brought some unruly and ever-growing web that directories and portals could not. Search was Google bread and butter ever since, and now allowing the company to pursue even more ambitious ideas to become one of the great pillars of the tech innovations ecosystem. There's been a lot of change in the last 10 years, but then we thought computers were big, boxy things on which we used spreadsheets and Word documents. Now we cannot escape in the pool of technology and computers anywhere we go. As the first digital native generation starts entering into the workforce, knowing nothing different, that will come to pass the next couple of decades. I could only guess, but it may very well be as strange and exciting and suppressing as the past couple of decades.
This is Georgie Jacob,
I'm Nick Banks.
and we are signing out. We here from JKBC TV would like to wish you a Happy New Year.